Welcome to NFL Nexus. Hey, if you're a fan of really getting into the weeds with football analysis, you're in the right place, so make sure you subscribe. Today, we are tackling a really fascinating puzzle, the Indianapolis Colts. They've got some serious holes on their roster, but their biggest problem, they don't have a first-round pick to fix them. So let's dive right in.
And that really brings us to the big question, the one that frames this whole explainer. How do you fix three massive needs when you don't have a first-round pick? I mean, think about it. It's this high-stakes strategic problem for GM Chris Ballard, and honestly, the team's future is kind of riding on whether or not he can pull this off. This isn't just about finding any old talent, it's about finding guys who can come in and make a difference from day one, all without that shiny top pick. So what are these needs we're talking about? Let's get specific. First, they need a pass rush with some serious punch, a real game wrecker to give opposing quarterbacks nightmares. Second, they need that impactful presence at linebacker, a true field general to run the defense. And third, they need a legitimate number one receiver, someone to be the anchor for their entire passing game. You know, any one of those could easily justify a first-round pick. The Colts, they have to find all three in the later rounds. No pressure, right?
So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to dig deep into that pass rush problem. Then we'll take a look at Chris Ballard's almost uncanny, you could even say legendary, ability to find studs at the linebacker position. After that, we'll get into the huge challenge of replacing a star receiver. And then at the end, we're going to ask the ultimate question. Could this be the draft that pushes the Colts back into the playoff hunt?
Okay, let's kick things off with the most glaring weakness on this team, the pass rush. In 2025, calling this a weakness is being kind. It was a flat-out liability. Their inability to consistently get after the quarterback just put the entire defense in a bind. It forced the secondary to cover for way too long, and it created these easy throwing lanes for opposing offenses. It was a problem. And Drake Wally over at SI.com, he just sums it up perfectly. He says the pass rush was as stale as day-old popcorn. I mean, ouch. He calls it wildly underwhelming, but the key phrase for me here is overall pressure rate. See, this isn't just about sacks. Sacks are great, they make the highlight reel, but they can be misleading. Pressure, that's about constant disruption. It's about moving the quarterback off his spot, making him uncomfortable, speeding up his clock. It's about creating chaos, even on plays where you don't get home. And the Colts just didn't have that engine. So, how do you fix it? You've got to find a player who can be a real threat week in and week out on the other side of Laiatu Latu. Now, signing Arden Key helps with depth for sure, but he's not the long-term answer. The solution that's being proposed in this mock draft is a guy who could step in and potentially start from day one, Gabe Jacas, the powerful defensive end out of Illinois. Zach Hicks points to Gabe Jacas as one of those rare day two prospects who actually has that immediate impact potential. And let's really break down what he's saying here. Shows some power on film. We're not just talking about speed here. We're talking about bull rush power, the kind that walks an offensive tackle right back into the quarterback's lap. He's the thunder to Latu's lightning. Then he says can be a base down guy, and that is so crucial. It means he's not just a pass rush specialist you bring in on third down. He can set a hard edge against the run. And maybe the most important part, absolutely dominant versus USC. That's the proof. That shows he can ball out on the biggest stage against top-tier competition. That's a huge checkmark for any prospect. And his numbers, well, they absolutely tell the story. 11 sacks, that's elite production that gets headlines. But look at that 13.5 tackles for loss. That tells you he's living in the opponent's backfield, blowing up run plays before they even have a chance to get going. 3 forced fumbles, that shows he's got a knack for creating turnovers. He's a playmaker. But you know what? The most important number on this entire screen might be that 3.4 pressures per game. That is consistency. That is the engine the Colts have been desperately missing. It means that even when he's not getting the sack, he is affecting the play, collapsing the pocket, and creating chaos. He's not just a splash player, he's a constant threat. So the bottom line is this, Gabe Jacas isn't some developmental project you draft and hope he figures it out in a few years. No, he is a potential plug-and-play solution to the Colts' single biggest defensive problem. You're talking about a combination of raw power, proven production against the best of the best, and a relentless motor. That makes him an absolutely incredible value in a second round, and a guy who could be starting week 1. All right, so with the pass rush hopefully addressed, that new disruptive force up front should make life a whole lot easier for the heart and soul of the defense. The linebackers. Now, the proposed pick here is Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas, but the real story, the reason Colts fans shouldn't panic about a third-round linebacker is Chris Ballard's almost magical ability to find stars at this position outside of the first round.
So who is this Anthony Hill Jr. guy? Well, think of him as a heat-seeking missile. That downhill presence means he sees the play, he diagnoses it fast, and he attacks the line of scrimmage. He's built to stuff the run, and he can be a really effective blitzer too, adding another weapon to the pass rush. But the real key here is the potential value. He broke his hand in 2025, and that kind of thing can make a player with first-round talent slide down draft boards. It's a bit of a gamble, but it could mean landing an absolute stud in the third round.
But that's the big question, isn't it? Can a third-round pick, especially one who's coming off an injury, really be the answer? Can a player taken that late truly step in and become the quarterback of the defense, that general you need out on the field? I mean, is that really enough to turn things around?
For just about any other team, you'd probably say no. You'd be skeptical, and you'd have every right to be. But for the Indianapolis Colts and for general manager Chris Ballard, oh yeah. History tells a very, very different story. And you don't have to look any further than the recently retired Anthony Walker Jr. for the perfect example. He's the case study. He was a fifth-round pick back in 2017, basically an afterthought on draft weekend. But his football IQ was completely off the charts. By his second year, he was the guy with the green dot on his helmet, relaying plays from the sideline. He became a force, racking up 105 tackles. Then he topped that with 124 tackles the next year. He ended his career with almost 600 tackles, proving that the Colts know how to find elite defensive talent in the most unlikely of places. And listen, Anthony Walker Jr. is just one piece of the puzzle. Just look at this list. This isn't luck, it's a masterclass in scouting. Shaquille Leonard in the second round became one of the best linebackers in the entire NFL. Zaire Franklin, a seventh-round pick, became a team captain and a tackling machine. Bobby Okereke, EJ Speed, mid to late round guys who became high-level starters. Ballard just has an eye for linebackers. He sees traits that other GMs miss. So when he targets a linebacker on day 2 or day 3, Colts fans have learned to trust the process.
All right, let's switch over to the offense, and this might be the biggest challenge of them all. The Colts traded away their star receiver, Michael Pittman Jr., and that leaves a gigantic, gaping hole in their passing game. So how in the world do you replace a player like that, again, without a first-round pick? It seems borderline impossible.
And let's be crystal clear about something. Replacing Michael Pittman Jr. is about way more than just the box score. He was the quarterback's security blanket. He was the guy you went to on third and long. He was the one you trusted to go up and win a 50-50 ball to keep a drive alive. He was the leader of that receiver room. His absence creates a vacuum of leadership and reliability just as much as it does production. So what's the proposed solution? A pretty under-the-radar fourth-round pick from TCU named Eric McAllister. But there is one number here that should make every single Colts fan sit up and pay attention: 18.2. That is his career yards per catch. This isn't some dink-and-dunk possession guy. This is a home run hitter. This is a player who can flip the entire field and change the momentum of a game with one single catch. The analyst Ethan Krieger calls McAllister a unicorn, and you can see why. He has a really rare skill set. He forces missed tackles like a little shifty slot receiver, but he does it with the big frame of a dominant outside guy. And he can beat whatever coverage you throw at him. He's got the speed to just run right by man coverage, but he's also smart enough to find the soft spots in his zone. For a quarterback, that is an absolute dream, and it's why a lot of people think he's one of the most intriguing day 3 prospects in this entire draft. And this is why he's such a potential mismatch nightmare. First, you've got the size. 6'4", 200 pounds. That's your ideal frame for a true X receiver who can dominate at the catch point. But then you look at the production. It's just off the charts. 72 catches, that tells you he's not just a one-trick pony deep threat. He can handle a heavy workload, run the whole route tree, just like Pittman did. And that elite production, almost 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, is the direct result of that rare ability to be a high-volume target who also has that explosive big play ability. That's what makes him a unicorn.
So let's be honest. Is it a gamble to expect a fourth-round pick to step in and replace an established star? Yeah, of course it is. Absolutely. But Eric McAllister is like a lottery ticket with a massive potential payoff. He's got all the tools you look for, the size, the insane production, that unique skill set. He has everything you need to develop into the #1 weapon the Colts desperately need. And for that price, in the 4th round, it's a smart, calculated risk that you just have to take. Okay, so we have the pieces. We have a power-rushing D-end, an instinctual downhill linebacker, and a high-upside unicorn at wide receiver. 3 picks, 3 monumental needs addressed. So now it's time for the final verdict. Is this draft blueprint actually enough to save the Colts?
And here it is, the entire blueprint laid out in one place. Gabe Jacas in the second round to finally add some punch to that pass rush. Anthony Hill Jr. in the third, banking on Ballard's proven eye for talent to solidify the linebacker core. And then Eric McAllister in the fourth, taking a high upside swing to replace Michael Pittman Jr. It's a bold strategy, no doubt about it. It prioritizes finding impact players over just picking the highest rated guy on the board. It's exactly the kind of smart, creative team building you have to do when you don't have a first-round pick. And that, of course, brings us to the ultimate question. Is it enough? Can these three players, none of them taken in the glitz and glamour of the first round, be enough to propel the Indianapolis Colts back into the playoffs? It's a high-risk, high-reward strategy, and it could very well define the future of this franchise for years to come. What do you think? I want to know. Chop your thoughts and your own draft grade for this haul in the comments below.
And that'll do it for this deep dive. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here at NFL Nexus. If you enjoyed this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and definitely let us know your draft grade for the Colts down in the comments. And hey, if you're looking for a really cool way to support the channel, check out our coloring books. They're perfect for football fans of all ages, from kids to grandkids to adults. You can grab them by scanning the QR code right there on your screen or by using the link in the description. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.